When we think of memory, we often imagine it as something stored in our minds, like a mental archive we return to whenever we need to remember. But what if memory is not so much like an archive and more like a room constantly rearranging itself every time we enter it? What if memory is fragile, emotional, and constantly reshaped by time, by feeling, and by the way we remember? How can we create interactive spaces that reflect not just how we see, but how we remember? How do we design for stories that are meant to shift and reshape themselves as we move? This is the idea I wanted to explore in a project I've created called Detective Clay. It's an augmented reality prototype that uses a technique called anamorphic illusion in a narrative game-like experience. When viewed from a specific angle or its vantage point, you'll only then see the true and intended image. But in this case, you're no longer just watching a story. Instead, you're moving around it, aligning your viewpoint with it. It's about discovering something hidden and piecing it together, one fragment at a time. And that act of searching, of shifting your perspective, is where the story begins to unfold. Anamorphic illusions are fascinating because they rely on distortion. At first glance, what you're seeing doesn't make sense, but when you move to the right position, that's when it suddenly clicks into place. This action of revealing something hidden in plain sight is what drew me to considering this as a storytelling device. An anamorphic illusion's true nature is only revealed through a shift in perspective, and how this mirrors the way perception works: unstable, contextual, and deeply subjective. A wave of immersive spatial experiences are redefining how stories are told. Rafik Anadol's Machine Hallucinations, for instance, uses AI and massive datasets to generate visual environments that feel like drifting through digital memory. The experience is immersive, overwhelming, and beautiful, and, like memory, constantly morphs depending on the input. There's also Bernard Prass, who assembles found objects into massive piles that only resolve into recognizable portraits or scenes when seen from one precise point. This delay in recognition and the demand to physically move and discover turn spectators into participants. Large-scale public augmented reality installations like WAVE at COEX Square in Seoul, South Korea, rely on the illusion of depth and perception to surprise and captivate. They are powerful because they challenge what we assume is real, fixed, or permanent. Unlike other illusions that trick the eye in a flash, anamorphic illusions in AR stretch out the moment of recognition. They require the viewer to act, and this to me became a powerful metaphor for memory itself, how it hides, shifts, and reforms over time. When we try to recall a past moment, maybe a conversation, maybe a place, the memory isn't precise. It's rarely word for word or detail for detail. It's something we reconstruct, shaped by motion, distance, and whatever fragments we still hold on to. In cognitive psychology, this is known as reconstructive memory. It has been shown that memory isn't a static thing we retrieve, but something we actively rebuild each time, and is malleable, interpretive, and susceptible to change. This idea runs parallel to interactive experiences like ReBlink, an AR museum installation by Impossible Things that reinterprets classical paintings through an AR lens. Viewers point their phones at historical portraits, and suddenly the paintings shift. Characters blink, glances away, or pulls out a smartphone. The past is reconstructed in the present, shaped by how we frame it. Detective Clay uses illusionary triggers to invite the viewer into a kind of perceptual puzzle. You're not just looking, you're aligning yourself with a hidden structure that only works when you choose to engage. As the viewer navigates these spaces in augmented reality, they physically move their device to find alignment. Only when the illusion locks into place does Detective Clay appear, animated and navigating through the scene, and disappearing into doors or progressing into the next memory fragment. To follow him, the viewer must shift again and again, so the narrative becomes a process of reconstruction. You're not passively observing a story, but you're uncovering it step by step, frame by frame. This act of revealing becomes an act of meaning-making, one that mirrors the cognitive effort of remembering. It's spatial, emotional, and interactive all at once. Detective Clay isn't a traditional narrative. there's no fixed beginning, middle, or end. Instead, it's a story you assemble through movement and perspective, shaped by the way you choose to engage. By using anamorphic illusion and augmented reality, is an exploration of how visual storytelling could reflect memory's fragmentary and fluid nature. It's part of a broader conversation in AR and spatial storytelling. Maybe memory isn't something we hold on to. Maybe it's something we find again when we're ready to look. And maybe stories like memories are meant to move with us, changing shape depending on where we stand, how we feel, and what we're willing to see.